diaphragm muscles. Yeah,
Yes,
Miss,
beta.
basically in inspiration, the diaphragm muscles contract and they pull the diaphragm downwards because expiration is done. And after that, in inspiration, the internal intercostal muscles relax while the external intercostal muscles contract and they pull the ribcage upwards and outwards. And in expiration, the diaphragm muscles relax, and the diaphragm turns to its like normal dome shaped thing as it was. And the external intercostal muscles relax while the internal intercostal muscles contract, pulling the ribs downwards and inwards to cause a forced expiration.
Correct. Very good. Now we'll quickly finish the last topic of this chapter, which is protection of the gas exchange system from pathogens and particles. Now listen to what I'm saying very, very carefully, and then I will ask you questions. First of all, what do you mean by pathogens? A pathogen is a disease causing microorganism. Any microorganism, tiny microorganism that can cause disease, be it a bacterium or a COVID-19 virus or a dengue virus or an hepatitis virus, anything is a pathogen, right? All the time that we are breathing this polluted air, especially these days, so many infections are common. It is very likely that all these pathogens will enter our respiratory system through our nose. Okay? The first thing, as soon as the air enters your nose, all of us have hairs inside our nose. So these pathogens and these bacteria or dust particles or pollutants will be trapped by your nose hairs. Okay? The nose hairs will behave like a filter paper. They will trap all these dust particles so as to purify the air. Then your air goes down through the larynx into the trachea. Trachea has some special cells which will clean this dirty air. एक तो first step पे वो जो dirty air थी वो clean हुई किससे? By the hairs inside your nose. And then after that, once the air gets inside into the trachea, there are specialized cells in the trachea which do the job of further cleaning of the air, ताकि finally जब आपकी air पहुंच जाए alveoli पे, तो क्या होगा? The air will be completely cleaned. Gandhi air अंदर ना जाए, right? So what do we have, or what specialized cells do the trachea has in order to purify this bad air or polluted air? So these specialized cells are two in number. Number one is the goblet cell, and the other is the ciliated epithelial cells, right? Acha, where do we have these cells? I'll just zoom into this diagram to show you. Right now in front of you, what you can see is a cut section, a microscopic cut section of the cells of the trachea. If we look at the cells of the trachea, we will see that they are made up of two kinds of cells, do tarah ki cells, right? One is goblet cells and the other is ciliated cells. I'll be using my highlighter to show you the goblet cells and the ciliated cells. So these cells, these ones, the rounded ones, right? Big ones which have a huge, big nucleus, these are all goblet cells. Okay? Ciliated cells kaun se hain? I'll just use my red marker to show you the ciliated cells. These are the ciliated cells. ये एक ciliated cell है, ये दूसरा है, ये तीसरा है, right? All these are ciliated cells. Their nuclei are not that visible. And why do I call them ciliated? Because they have these hair-like structures known as cilia on their surface. सब पे cilia लगा हुआ है, यहाँ पे भी cilia लगा हुआ है, and all, right? Now, what do these ciliated epithelial cells they do? These hair-like structures or cilia act as brooms or jhadus. A broom's job is to sweep away dust. So what will these tiny naturally, natural brooms do? They will sweep away the dust particles that you have inhaled in the polluted air. So they will sweep away the dust particles. ठीक है, लेकिन इससे पहले कि ये cilia sweep away करें dust particles, क्योंकि dust particles they can be dry dust particles अगर आप dry air inhale कर रहे हैं, so the easy way to sweep them is to make these dust particles sticky. How to make them sticky? these goblet cells will produce a sticky substance, okay? The goblet cells will produce a sticky substance which is known as the mucus. What will this sticky substance do? It will trap the dust particles. Okay? It will trap the dust particles. Once they are trapped, then they can be easily swept by the cilia. So, a natural protective mechanism of cleaning the air that you have inhaled into the trachea is through these specialized cells in the trachea. Number one, goblet cells, and number two, ciliated epithelial cells. The goblet cells will make the mucus. The mucus will trap the dust particles. Once they are trapped, now the ciliated epithelial cells, the cilia on top of them, are going to sweep these dust particles, and they will sweep them in the upward direction. Kaise? I will just draw a diagram to show you. Let's say if this is your trachea. ठीक है, अब ट्रेकिया के अंदर जो है ये सारे cells पड़े हुए हैं, ये ciliated epithelial cells भी हैं. These are the ciliated epithelial cells, and let's use another color for the goblet cells. Let's use the blue color. So you have these goblet cells also. ठीक है, air आपकी बाहर से अंदर आ रही है और polluted air आ रही है, right? The goblet cells will make the mucus which will trap the dust particles, and the cilia will be sweeping these dust particles. लेकिन कौन से direction में ये इसको sweep करेंगे? The cilia will sweep these dust particles in the air. तो नीचे आ रही है, लेकिन cilia इनको ऊपर sweep करेंगे, ऊपर ऊपर ऊपर. Why ऊपर? Because very much next to your trachea, you have the food pipe. Okay, food pipe बिल्कुल यहाँ पे लगा हुआ है, इधर लगा हुआ है. This is your food pipe. तो ये इसलिए जो है वो ऊपर 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 cilia will be beating upwards. And what is the cilia doing? It is sweeping all these dust particles upwards and then finally into your food pipe. और food pipe से ये कहाँ जाएगा? You will be swallowing this, dirty mucus which has trapped all the dust particles into your stomach, and inside your stomach, the stomach acid will kill all these bacteria that you have accidentally inhaled through your trachea. Is that understandable, Anisa?
Yes, miss.
Now you repeat it, whatever I said right now, right from the beginning. बिल्कुल आप अच्छी तरीके से repeat करो.
Acha, so miss, basically, firstly, pathogens, you talked about pathogens, which are like all sorts of like tiny bacteria which cause diseases. They're also known as microorganisms, and they're present everywhere in the air, and they always surround us, so we need to be careful. So when we breathe the air which is containing these microorganisms, what happens is that in the trachea there are two kinds of cells, the goblet cells and the ciliated cells. So firstly, before uh, the dust enters the trachea, the nose, basically the hair in the nose basically sweeps away this dust, and then it enters the trachea. So the goblet cells have a big nucleus, and the ciliated cells have small nuclei, and they act as brooms, and goblet cells basically just like sweep away the dust particles, and they
No,
also
no, no,
produce
no, no. Wait. Goblet cells don't sweep away the dust particles. Goblet cells make the mucus, and the
oh yes,
mucus traps the dust particles. Yes.
mucus traps those dry dust particles, and cilia, which has like a broom-like structure, sweeps away the dust particles so that they don't enter the alveoli, and clean air enters the alveoli, and then once everything is done, they just push that mucus upwards so it enters our stomach, and the acid in the stomach can kill the bacteria in the mucus.
Okay. If we go back to our learning outcome, let's go to this. Acha. Describe the features of the gas exchange surfaces in humans limited to large surface area, thin surface, good blood, and air supply. Have you done this?
Yes.
State the percentages of the gases in atmospheric air. Done?
Yeah.
Investigate and explain the differences between inspired and expired air.
Yes.
Identify on diagrams and images the larynx, trachea, lungs, bronchi, bronchioles, and capillaries. Done?
Yeah.
State the characteristics of and describe the role of exchange surface of the alveoli in gas exchange. Done?
Yes.
Ribs, internal intercostal, external intercostal, diaphragm. This is also done.
Yes.
Explaining the role of ribs, muscles, diaphragm in producing volume and pressure changes in the thorax, causing the movement of air into and out of the lungs, breathing. Done.
Yes.
Investigate and explain the effect of physical activity on the rate and depth of breathing. Have you done this?
Yes, the oxygen that we've done that.
We've done that. Explain the role of goblet cells, ciliated cells, and mucus in protecting the gas exchange system from pathogens and particles. Done?
Yeah, we just did it.
We just did it. So our entire chapter is finished. This
Yeah.
entire chapter is finished. And now you tell me that did you ask your school people which board are you following? Are you following 5090 or are you following what?
Miss, we're following 5090, but I don't know why my teacher basically like gives reference